Where's your daughter so we can check on her to make sure that she's okay? Right now, I'm not going to say you guys.
Can you tell me that she's alive?
You're going to play the same word games that they played with me the other day.
It's not word games.
I got nothing else
Because
to
we
care
care, man. We want to know. Why is it you have so much trouble talking about Harmony?
Guys, I got nothing else to say.
Mr. Montgomery has been charged with the following 4 crimes. Second-degree murder for recklessly causing the death of Harmony Montgomery by repeatedly striking Harmony in the head with a closed fist.
The man convicted of murdering his daughter, little 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery, wants a new trial. The oral arguments on Adam Montgomery's appeal begin in less than an hour, and Court TV is there. Plus, 2 infamous murder cases being brought to life, brand new biopics for the embattled Murdoch family and convicted killer Brian Kohberger. Plus, many questions still looming this morning with the shocking ruling in Ellen Greenberg's death. We're wondering, did the original medical examiner cause a puncture wound? Also this hour, deliberations are resuming in the toddler-stabbed murder trial for defendant Bianca Ellis. We are on a verdict watch. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some court? We got a great show planned, so let's get it started as we always do. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Coward Montgomery just won't quit. After being sentenced to 56 years to life in prison for murdering his daughter Harmony, today he's appealing to the New Hampshire Supreme Court. This lying, spineless, heartless, sociopathic, sorry excuse for a father should thank his lucky stars that New Hampshire doesn't have the death penalty, because he deserved it. Adam Montgomery beat his 5-year-old daughter Harmony to death. Harmony's last moments of her life were spent terrified and suffering, hearing her own father screaming and swearing at her to shut up because she couldn't stop crying from the beating that he inflicted on her. Think about that, my friends. Thinking about what he did to his daughter Harmony makes me want to cry. After he killed his beautiful little girl, he then disposed of her body like she was yesterday's trash. And now, that animal doesn't even have the decency to show law enforcement where he left her body, so that she could be brought back home to have a proper burial and a proper gravesite. No, instead this selfish, evil murderer is trying to get his conviction overturned. What a coward. Go cry to the court. I think that piece of garbage should never again see the light of day, and he has only himself to blame. Little Harmony deserved far better, and he deserves far worse than the sentence that he got. That's my opening statement, and let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
I moved, and she stabbed him in the side of his face. And then she stabbed me.
Take a minute and ask a question.
In Ohio, we've got the fate of defendant Bianca Ellis now in the hands of the jury. Deliberations resuming at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time in the toddler-stabbed murder case. In Florida, we've got the defense's case continuing in the toxic relationship murder trial. Defendant Daisy Link might take the stand today. Court's going to get underway at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And in New Hampshire, the case I was just talking about, Adam Montgomery, his appeal. It kicks off 9 a.m. Eastern, those oral arguments. The New Hampshire Supreme Court set to hear them today. So let's talk about it. So this guy convicted in the murder of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony, sentenced to 56 years to life in prison. And earlier this year, his attorneys filed that appeal for him. They're citing 3 errors: the court's failure to sever the assault and murder charges, evidence of past abuse that was admitted into case evidence, and Harmony's interaction with police in Adam Montgomery's interaction with police, I should say, in 2021 that was shown to the jury. Let's take a look at some of that video. Here we go.
You're not in trouble. Nobody said you're losing your daughter. Okay? So I want to make that clear. So all you know, I have my body cam on, just like everybody else is being argued with. So you just need to find out where she is. That's all I'm concerned about. You're not in any trouble right now that I know of. Okay. We have no warrants. Okay. So, where's your daughter so we can check on her to make sure that she's okay?
Right now, I have nothing to say to you guys.
But that's not what I'm just asking where she is.
I have nothing to say.
So you don't care if your daughter's okay or not?
I do. I listen, I have nothing to say.
Now, we should point out that George saw the video with no audio during the trial. So there were some safeguards that were put into place. But let's talk about what the chances are of his conviction being overturned. Here to talk about it in the studio, I'm so happy to have celebrity attorney Randy Kessler and joining us remotely criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borchardt. Good morning to you, gentlemen. All right, what are the chances this animal has on appeal? Randy, would you start us off, please?
This animal. Well, I'm so glad you're here, and you're not my opposing counsel, because you don't sugarcoat anything, Julie. Oh my gosh. You know, what's he got to lose? It's one of those, you know, if he's got a 0.0001% chance to get out and to get a new trial, you try it. I don't see anything. I don't know what the basis of it is. We're not seeing a lot of reporting about what the real appeal issue is. I don't see it. I haven't seen anything to make me think he's going to win an appeal. You never know.
Right. You know, I think he just is doing it because he can do it. Why not? He has very good lawyers. He didn't even show up for his trial. Franz Borchardt, I know you remember that. The guy didn't even bother to show up. Too much of a coward. And with respect to issue number one, the joinder of the assault case when he assaulted Harmony in July with her murder case when he murdered her in December, same year, he was the one who initially filed the motion to join the cases. It was him. Franz, what do you think?
Look, sometimes you throw stuff against the wall and it sticks, and most of the time it doesn't. And I could not agree more. He loses nothing. After the appeal is denied, then it will be a post-conviction relief. My attorneys were horrible. This is the system. And for better or for worse, and mostly for better, we want him to exercise his appeal. We want the conviction to be solidified and affirmed. So kudos to him for using his rights, but I just don't, I agree. I don't see any real appellate issues. The one I kind of liked was the jury being shown something that they shouldn't have been shown in the sense of the right to remain silent, his exercising of the, I don't have anything to say to you guys, but if the volume's down, I don't really, it's his body language, his casual smoking the cigarette. I think that's fair game. So I don't see this going well for him, but who knows?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Franz. Let's take a look at what Franz was just talking about here. So we have this clip, body camera footage shown to the jury. He's claiming showing the video, even without the audio, violates his right to remain silent. Let's take a look.
Your ex, Crystal, I did talk to her. She's like not mad at you. She's just kind of concerned. She hasn't seen it get away. So that's why the bells must have started going off and people fall off just the word. You know what I mean? So I don't know her that well. I know you better. I only met her once, so I don't know what type of woman, kind of woman she. She's crazy. When's the last time you had to talk to her? 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Yeah.
She's crazy. Oh, that sounds like something an abuser says, right? Always blame the partner that they're abusing. We know he abused Kayla, Randy. We know that. So here we see the clip with the audio because we have it at Court TV, right? And our courties have seen it. Randy, what do you think? Should the court have a problem with this video shown?
It's so minuscule in the mountain of evidence against this guy that I don't think it really matters. It's not going to make a difference. It would not have moved the needle. But also, he's conversing. He's talking. It wasn't like they showed up and he said, I've been told, and I'd like to speak to my lawyer. He should have been a little more polite. He looks guilty, but I don't think that's enough to move it. I cannot imagine that's a grounds for appeal that the appellate court would consider.
Sure. You know, and you got me thinking as you were talking, Randy, if this was like he resisted arrest or some crazy scene, right, Franz, where, you know, okay, he's acting up. Yeah, sure, we're not going to show the jury that makes him look violent, and he is violent. Like Randy said, he's just talking. He's standing there. I think that's pretty weak. I don't know. What do you think, Franz, taking a look at it again?
So the fact that they did not get to listen to it is going to be what what denies his motion to appeal. There's some good Supreme Court case law, Julie, that says you have to invoke clearly and unequivocally your constitutional right to remain silent. But anything you say or do other than that voluntarily, can be held against you. And look, sometimes actions speak louder than words. This guy's just casually leaning against the car, smoking a cigarette. Officers doing nothing more than trying to find this child. That, to me, is more damaging than anything he says. And I think that it's fair game. And I think I have no problem with them appealing. It's showing. I just think it's not going to lead to anywhere.
Franz, great points. Thank you. Let's take a look at a clip from Kayla Montgomery where she's describing what coward Adam Montgomery did after he beat Harmony to death.
Did you see him put Harmony in that duffel bag?
Yes.
How did he put her in there, Kayla?
He folded her in half and put her in the duffel bag.
Oh my gosh. And Randy, before he did that, I know, it makes you want to cry thinking what happened to this poor child. Before he realized that she was dead, he inflicted this horrible beating on her. Just a little reminder, they go and they get high. They go to Burger King, they go and they get their dope, they get high as a kite, and then when she's no longer making noises, they realize she's dead, and that's when he, as Kayla said, folded this child, this precious child, up like a piece of, garbage and put her in a duffel bag that he carried around for an extended period of time. Randy, the court knows these facts, do they not? These justices that are hearing arguments today.
Yeah, it's not the same. They have to read a record. They don't see the live testimony. But all I can hear, in my mind, is your opening statement, right? I mean, that's got to be the way that they feel. Everybody feels that way. They got to be, professional and look like they're playing the part of the wise judges. But yeah, this just tugs at you. You could not really orchestrate too many more facts that would tug at your heartstrings than what this guy did to this little child. I mean, they're ruling on the law. They've got to look at what the law says. They don't rule on, I don't like him, I didn't like him, he's a bad guy. They have to rule on, did the judge violate any rules of evidence? Did the judge let in some evidence the judge shouldn't have? Or did the judge keep out evidence that should have come in? That's basically their job. I don't see any basis for an appeal still.
Randy, thank you. Great points. Franz, let me ask you about this one issue they're raising with regards to the separate incidents. July, when he beat Harmony, gave her a black eye. People saw it. Children and Family Services was called, did nothing about it. That's a whole nother story. But in December, then he beats her and murders her. And these were two separate cases that he filed a motion to join. And then he decided to file a motion to sever them. The court said, they're staying together. Prosecutors said there are grounds for them to stay together because they're entirely separate incidents. We're not saying the July beating caused the December death. Do you think that was a court error to allow all of it in? Okay, tell us why, Franz.
So many states, when it comes to sexual assault or domestic violence, and we already have laws, Julie, that let in other crimes evidence. So let's say for the second that he's right that they're separate. It still shows a pattern of behavior, right? Violence towards the child and violence in general. So I think that it's insulated in that regard. We call it other crimes evidence, or specifically a domestic other crimes evidence. It comes in based on that. The other issue is I think there's a straight-faced argument for this is all continuous action, what we call res gesti. I think there's an argument for this is all the same crime. Even if it's separate, it's really the same crime, and you can't kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater on that. So I think that that's insulated. Now, it certainly doesn't help him that in the beginning he's like, no, put these together. That doesn't help. That's a problem for him. Optically, it's a problem for him, and legally, it's a problem for him. So again, issue to throw against the wall for an appeal, sure. I just don't think that yields any fruit for him.
Excellent points you both made. We'll continue following this one. As I mentioned off the top of the show, we're there. We're going to be there all morning long and bringing you these oral arguments. I'm so glad we have Franz and Randy here today, and you at home, stand by. Here's what's coming up next for you on Opening Statements.
Do you love Paul?
Dude, I love him. Like no other. He and Buster.
Do you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence?
Yes.
Trending in true crime, brand new biopics of two infamous murder cases. Plus, we're spotlighting the shocking medical examiner's ruling in Ellen Greenberg's death. Could there be puncture wounds made at the original review?
This week,
we're digging deeper into the biggest cases across the country. Join us for all the latest developments with what's trending in true crime.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Donna Edelson wasn't a regular mother.
She's the matriarch mastermind.
She's just being a parent, not a killer.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. Season finale, Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Indictment for murder, guilty. Indictment for murder, guilty.
Justice was done. It gave a voice to Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, who were brutally mowed down and murdered. We can't bring them back, but we can bring them justice.
And he may be taken away.
Many of us remember Alec Murdaugh's trial, and now a brand new limited series on Hulu is focusing on the drama behind the murders of Maggie and Paul.
This is Alec Murdaugh. I need police and an ambulance immediately.
Looking back, sometimes I feel like I'm living a life I never was supposed to live.
Murdaugh, Death in the Family, releases on the streaming platform today. The first 3 episodes of an 8-part series are available to watch on Hulu and on Disney+. For decades, the Murdaugh family name was known as a legal dynasty in the Palmetto State. But now, ever since Alec Murdaugh's trial, his name is now tied to lies, embezzlement, and double murder, all elements of this TV drama. So we're asking, what part of the series are you most interested in seeing? Let's bring in our power panel. Still with me in the studio, a celebrity attorney, Randy Kessler, practices family law. He's also a professor as well. Joining me remotely, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borghardt, and remotely retired FBI special agent and firearms expert Jennifer Coffindaffer. Good morning to you all. All right, so what part of this are you all most interested to see? Ladies first. Jen, start us off.
Hi, Julie. Good morning, everyone. I'm most interested to see how they paint that relationship with Buster. Remember, if you're talking about a family annihilator, Buster gets off without being murdered. And I remember that there was information that he was actually supposedly being lured back home and didn't go back home. I'm wondering how exactly they're going to couch that situation.
Ooh, that's good, Jen. All right, Randy, to you next, please. What are you most interested in?
So you may not like my answer, but I'm a family lawyer, right? And I'm thinking about the family dynamics. You know, it's the old days, you would read a book and then go see the movie. And then you started getting lazy, you'd see the movie, and maybe you'd read the book. This is, you know, incredible because the real episodes, the real life story happened, and now they're reconstructing it. I want to see the editing. I want to see how they weave the pieces together. The teaser was amazing, so I can't wait to watch.
Ooh, that's a good answer. The family dynamics. Yes, from the family law expert here. Thank you much. Franz, last but not least, what are you most interested in seeing, please?
So I enjoy a good old-fashioned spiral out of control, and I'm hoping that they kind of paint him in what we believe he is, which is this is a guy that had everything, every opportunity, and he just financially he spirals, commits crimes against clients, commits murder. I want to see the fall from grace, and I'm hoping that that's really what they show. Remember, let's not forget, this is a guy whose family is in the courthouse, right? Like there's portrait of his what father in the this is a family that's respectable. This guy has every advantage in the world that all of us would love to have, and he just flushes it, and he murders someone. So, I want to see the fall from grace, Julie.
Oh, you all gave really good answers. I'm going to say I'm interested in seeing the work of the reporters in this because two of them, big shouts, they're friends of the show, Mandy Matney and Liz Farrell, wonderful, brilliant ladies who did such great work reporting on the Murdochs when nobody was talking about it. Before anybody ever knew what was going on, they really had their fingers on the pulse of something bad is happening here, and they're both portrayed in the series. So I'm looking forward to that. So that being said, there's another series that is grabbing the headlines in the true crime world. So let's turn to that. A new movie centered around Idaho student murders killer Brian Kohberger.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohberger on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Zena, Madison, and Kaylee.
He was stalking them. He was hunting them.
You could tell there was something off about him.
A quadruple homicide in Moscow, Idaho. It's just unheard of.
This is our home. This is our university. This is our community.
These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students.
This was a violation of everything.
Lifetime set to release a movie based on what took place that day back in November of 2022 in Moscow, Idaho. Ripped from the headlines is the series of movies which will air on the Lifetime network, focusing on true crime and other newsworthy events. And the Idaho murders case will soon be its newest story. Actor Miles Mary has been cast to play convicted killer Brian Kohberger. The production is expected to begin filming this month. And the question we have for our power panel on this one is, we're wondering, is it too soon for a movie on this one? Randy Kessler, let me begin with you. Your thoughts, please.
It's always too soon, right? You can always talk about we're trivializing it. You're going to have to put in some filler, and you're going to have to make some leaps of faith. Yes, it's too soon. But what's fascinating, just like Franz said, the fall from grace for Murdoch, and the ascent to notoriety for this guy. You know, what makes somebody powerful and famous fall from grace? What makes somebody who nobody knows want to be there? Hopefully they shed some light on that, because that's what we all want to know. What would make somebody do this? We're all striving to understand that. You know, I don't think it's too soon. It's in the news. We're curious about it. I want to know more.
Definitely. I have a statement from the Gonsalves family that was given to Ashley Banfield last night on her show, Banfield, on News Nation. Steve Gonsalves appeared saying, this is like a movie, and it's shocking to know that somebody feels that confident they can just tell your story about your child. It seems like somebody's just reaching into your house and stealing your life and putting it on the screen. We've experienced this in real time, and it's very, very much far from something that's specifically made for an entertainment purpose. I think that's the part that's the hardest for me to get over. And this was from Olivia Gonsalves, the second quote there. So Olivia and her dad, Steve, Kaylee's sister, Kaylee's father, Jen Coffindeffer, let me go to you for some thoughts on the family's sentiments.
You know, I actually mimicked that. That was the first thought. This is so early, and I was thinking about the scenes that they're going to have of the actual murder, and, you know, it's going to be horrific because no matter what you can see on TV now is unbelievable in terms of how graphic it is. And I like when he said they were stealing really their life, their story, and what they've suffered. I think it is way too early, but no, I'm not at all surprised. I just hate to see this for all four families.
Oh, I know you do, Jen. I know you do. I hate seeing them hurt anymore. And there is such an appetite for the information, right? They wouldn't be making the movie if there wasn't an appetite for it. Franz, your thoughts, please, on the timing of it.
Well, the timing seems terrible, especially now that we have a statement from the surviving victims' family members, or the surviving family members of the victims. They weren't, it doesn't look like they were consulted or on board with this, so that's terrible. And secondly, for some reason, Julie, I get a little bit more squeamish about this kind of a documentary movie, only because I don't want him to be celebrated and I don't want it to be glamorized what he's done. I don't want someone else thinking, well, I can become famous if I do what he did. And that is what makes me, this is the other side of true crime. True crime can help the community of true crime, podcasting, investigations can help solve crimes, but it can also potentially cause harm to the victim's family members. And I don't want others being inspired by his behavior.
Bravo, Franz, you said that so perfectly. Thank you for that. We'll leave it there for now. Our power panel staying with us. Want you to do the same at home, please. You can get some more coffee if you like. When we come back, we're going to break down the autopsy report. I've got it here. In the mysterious death of Ellen Greenberg, could the medical examiner who originally did the autopsy have caused a puncture wound in her spine? What? We'll talk about that. Plus,
she told me when I interviewed her on June 12th of this year that her rage caused the stabbings. Rage took control of her to make her do the, quote, wrong thing.
Was defendant Bianca Ellis insane when she stabbed to death 3-year-old Julian Wood? We are on a verdict watch together this morning.
They said something about suicide, which I never considered for 1 second. Never, ever, ever would she do that.
It's like somebody punches you hard in the stomach and again, and the air goes out of your lungs and you can't breathe.
This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the case of school teacher Ellen Greenberg and her death. The case is now officially closed as far as Philadelphia County, Pennsylvania is concerned. But her parents are vowing to continue their fight to find out what really happened to their daughter. Greenberg was found dead in her apartment with some 20 stab wounds back in 2011, some of them to her back. 2 different Philadelphia medical examiners have waffled back and forth about the manner of death. Now, Ellen's parents had a lot of hope when it was declared something other than suicide. But now, the present ME has said again that it's a suicide. Ellen's parents attended a Zoom hearing on Tuesday when the judge closed the case officially following this new ruling. Now, in a 32-page autopsy report that I have here in my hand, Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Lindsay Simon concludes that the manner of Ellen Greenberg's death is best classified as suicide. Simon writing that at the time of her death, Greenberg was suffering from anxiety over her work as a school teacher, specifically over grades that she was giving her students. She had an increase in energy to act on her anxious thoughts. At least one of the many knife wounds on Greenberg's body was to the back of her neck. While Dr. Simon found that the pattern of wounds was admittedly unusual, she added that the fact remains that Ellen would be capable of inflicting these injuries herself. Simon described many of Greenberg's injuries as consistent with hesitation wounds, tentative, self-inflicted injuries that can precede a fatal wound. Let's talk about this. Let's bring in board-certified forensic pathologist Dr. Priya Banerjee and retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Good morning to you, ladies. Dr. Priya, let me begin with you here, please. What do you make of the ME's finding here?
I don't think any of my opinions have changed. I know we've talked about this before. It's rather unbelievable to me that this is the conclusion they came to. When you look at the nature of the wounds, and there was a diagram that was shown, I think, on my interview yesterday, and it's been shown in other times, where there are wounds, exactly. Wounds to the back of the neck that were labeled NNT, thank you, yes. And you can see that they are going into the base of the brain and the spinal column. That takes force. There's bony structures there, and they saw the spinal cord described as bulging from the wound. There's bleeding over the base of the brain, the cerebellum, where the base of the skull stab wound is, that means she was alive. And I wholeheartedly disagree that this would not incapacitate her. I do think it would. These are critical structures that are involved with vital functions. And so to stab herself after sustaining these wounds, I think is, I professionally disagree. I'll leave it at that.
Dr. Priya, we want to hear more. So with that wound in particular you were talking about in her spinal column, this autopsy report, it says, this doctor is saying that it could have possibly been caused by the first medical examiner at autopsy. Does that sound right to you?
So, I mean, there's always a potential for artifact. Okay, that's what we call introduced cuts or fractures. I mean, we've all done it because we are tugging and pulling and cutting. But when you have an overlying wound and then there's damage to the cord, the spinal cord, excuse me for being so colloquial, and there's bleeding at the base of the brain, bleeding is not an artifact, okay? That is not. When someone is passed away, how do I tell artifact? I actually teach this. How do you know it's post-mortem or artifact? Means that they did not have a beating heartbeat and blood pressure, which means they won't bleed into their wounds. No one bleeds into my autopsy incisions. And so that is a vital differentiation that we make at autopsy. There's bleeding on the surface of the brain secondary to one of these wounds. How can that be denied?
Oh, so I see what you're saying. So in here, this sounds like it's not possible to you, right? If I'm getting what you're saying correctly, Dr. Priya, that you're saying because of the blood, she was alive when that wound went into her neck. Gotcha. Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let's talk about some of the facts and circumstances now. Agent Coffendeffer, I want to dig in with you on that. So Ellen Greenberg's fiance, we know, is the one who told police that he found her locked in the apartment, that he had to breach the door. I have some of his 911 call I want to play for you now.
Oh my God, she stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell on a knife. Oh no, her knife's sticking out.
What?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, so timeline is key here. And in this autopsy report, we know that the ME is citing all these different times. Jen, at 4:51, this guy's key card shows he's going into the gym. At 5:30, we know he's seen in the lobby going back up to the apartment. So he goes to work out apparently in that time. But something that jumped out to me, the calls to Ellen begin at 5:24. So while he's still in the gym, having only worked out for, I mean, about a half hour's time here, he's calling her. That seems strange to me. I'd love your thoughts, Jen.
Well, there's so much that seems strange to me here. First of all, how about the fact that he is on camera in shorts, but according to the first responders, he was in sweats when they arrived on scene? How about the huge hiatus in time between when he supposedly left the gym and when the 911 call was made and other calls that were made before that? How about the situation with the lock? That lock does not look like a breech door with that sort of a lock. I can tell you that either the side of the door or the door itself would be completely impaired for somebody to be able to breach this. How about this? At the crime scene, there was medication for anxiety, and those medications actually cause depression. They can cause dizziness. They cause lethargy. She was not diagnosed with depression. She was actually diagnosed with being anxious. That doesn't equate to somebody who would murder themselves. And how about this, Julie? The fact she was found against that counter, you can see the blood marks. I don't know if you have that picture. So did she stab herself 10 odd times in the back, hit herself over the head with this huge knife to cause this gigantic gash? Remember, 2 knives were used. And then as she was laying there, change out knives and stab herself in the chest. This completely, to me, shows a staged scene.
I am so happy to hear you say that, because that was one of the things that one of the reviewing doctors brought up, and it is noted in this report that did someone kill her and then make it look like she killed herself? Jen, you're saying this scene indicates that to you. What's the biggest tell? Is it the body positioning, the blood? What would you say is the giveaway for you that could be what happened here?
Well, start from, for me, beginning to end, that lock that looks staged. Then you go to the way she's positioned on the counter. Then the 911 call, not the piece you all played, but the piece at the beginning where the 911 operator is asking sort of what happened. He's, I don't know what happened. And then later he somehow discovers the knife when they ask him to do CPR, and he's quite disgusted with having to do CPR. So that's when he finally sees the knife. And then you go from these smudge marks on the back of the cabinetry, and it doesn't make any sense to be able to inflict these wounds and have this crime scene and blood pattern have this particular face to it.
Boy, this is such great insight you're giving us. Jen, thank you for all of that. Dr. Priya, when I look at some of the consultative reports that were reviewed by this ME, Dr. Simon, who issued this one, we got some really famous names. We have Dr. Cyril Wecht, we have Dr. Henry Lee, among others, on this list. I know you reviewed the report. Was there anything in particular from these consulting doctors that really jumped out to you?
Well, I was happy to see that many of them agreed with me. That they are also suspicious that the pattern of injury, the locations, as discussed, are very abnormal and not inconsistent with suicide. I think many of them have agreed that independently so. I have not seen their reports. I'm just reading the excerpts that are contained within this 32-page document, but that they also feel that this is a homicide. Dr. Lee said that based on the blood pattern, which again is outside my expertise, but others like Dr. Wecht also agreed that this is highly atypical for a suicide. And I think, I always come back to these wounds, N and T, as shown here, as being very injurious to her brain and spinal cord, upper spinal cord, that to me would lend her unable to continue to stab herself.
Excellent insight. Boy, I could talk to you brilliant ladies all day long. Thank you so much. We're going to keep following this. We'll follow what comes next. I am sure the Greenbergs aren't going to give up here. Jen Coffindaffer, Dr. Priya, thank you both so much. We'll hit a break. When we come back, what will the jury decide for Bianca Ellis? We go on a verdict watch.
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions.
How do you explain it? The worst crime anyone can imagine.
Do you feel like you took the fall for this murder?
Tell me in your own words, what happened?
Let's get started.
Interview with a Killer. New season premieres Saturday, October 25th. Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We are going on that verdict watch this morning in the murder case of defendant Bianca Ellis. She's accused of stabbing to death 3-year-old Julian Wood in the grocery store parking lot in Cleveland, Ohio. The case now in the hands of the jury. Before each side got to deliver their closing arguments, the experts weighed in. Let's listen to some of the closings.
The actions of stabbing. What a personal, gruesome thing to do. And I think on cross-examination, Mr. Johnson talked about, well, wouldn't 30 stab wounds be more indicative of rage? No, ladies and gentlemen, stabbing anybody with anything is an act that would be fueled by anger. And to select the most helpless victim possible and then stab that victim twice, that is rage.
It's crowded. It's in the middle of the day. It's 3 o'clock. And I know you had to pay attention when she's walking with the knife, when she enters the store, and she walks past what appears to be an elderly gentleman, a woman coming. None of those people get stabbed, despite her motive being rage.
All right, that was a little sampling of the closings. The jury out for about an hour, deliberating on Tuesday. They're going to pick back up any minute now, so we'll pop that verdict clock up when they do. Let's talk about how the closings and the expert testimony tipped the scales of justice. This isn't a case of who done it. We know who did it, but what was her mental state at the time? Let's bring in celebrity attorney. He practices family law. He's also a professor as well. Randy Kessler is here. All right, so who do you think, I suppose, whose argument resonates more with the jury?
So I watched the closings, and it was fascinating. And this is really not a case, like you said, about who done it. You want to take emotions out of trials. It should be fact-based. Did somebody do it or not? This is the exact opposite. This is really, you know, was she insane at the time she did it? Did she know right from wrong? I think all that's out the window. I think it's going to, and they were very passionate arguments. It's going to be a question of, I don't care if she was crazy or not, this lady shouldn't walk the streets again, or we need to help this person who's mentally ill. I mean, that's going to be the decision. It's totally not a typical murder case. Do we give sympathy to somebody who's got some mental deficiencies? They all acknowledge she's schizophrenic. Or do we say, I don't care what her mental deficiency is, I'm not going to give any excuse. She's getting locked away. I mean, that's what it comes down to for me.
Right, right. I think you hit the nail on the head, Randy. It's like the human part of it. That's what's really going to resonate with the jury.
And these lawyers were good. I mean, both lawyers were. They refocused the jury from the defense, especially when you have a case like that. And you say, when I saw this, he started off his closing with, I saw this and I thought, what does this world come to when somebody would kill a little child like that? He owned it. He said, this is our client. But, and then you move on and you pivot to, the law provides an escape plan. She chose to plead not guilty by reason of insanity, and we have to follow the law. And then he played that card, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned the good lawyering. To me, her attorney, Fernando Mack, was sensational. The way, you know, he owned this and he kind of wove in his own, like, look, when I saw this on the news, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know, this is terrible. And then he goes, then I reviewed the case. And so I really felt like he is really a superstar, connected with that jury very well. How much does that matter, Randy?
Oh, you've got to get credibility. I mean, the jury's not going to listen to anything you say. If you say, my client's a good person, she didn't do this, I don't know what happened, forget it. I'm just going to listen to the other side. But when you start to bond with that person, all of a sudden, you can empathize with the lawyer. He sees this horrible crime on TV. He's devastated like everybody else. And then he's tasked with the duty of putting up a defense. It gives you respect for the system. Whether she's convicted or not, at least she had a great defense.
Yes, she sure did. She sure did. Boy, they looked out for her. I don't think there's anything more they could have done at this point. That's the goal, right? When you
humanize her, you personalize her, and you put it in the hands of the jury.
Exactly. That's how you do trial practice. That's what you teach, my friend. Well, boy, we were so fortunate to have you have some time for us this morning. Thank you, Randy Kessler. I just saw you on Housewives. I was binging some Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16,
hey,
and
you'd be good on that
all
show.
the celebs consult you on. I like this show, but I like to watch that one too in my spare time. Thank you so much for everything, and thank you at home for being with us. That is all for this episode of Opening Statements. You can watch the episode. You can share it again with your friends. We pop them up every day on CourtTV.com. See that little red shows tab? Just click it there.